Hello, welcome to Women in Leadership Leading Through Change. My name is Dr. Melissa Agri-McCauley, and my colleague here is going to introduce herself before we get started.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Eisenreich. I'm a principal in the Elizabeth Forward School District. I've been an administrator for 21 years and have enjoyed every moment of it and have learned so many lessons about women in leadership and good leadership in general, and just how important it is for us as women to support each other in our mission to serve children.
All right, so we're going to share our screen. We wanted to welcome you. Thanks for joining us this evening. So we're going to share our screen here. There we go, so we can get to our presentation. And there we are. All right, are we all good over there?
We are great. Thank you, Melissa. We're ready to go.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so as we mentioned, this is Women in Leadership. That's our title here, Leading Through Change. So in case you forgot what we look like, because you just saw us 5 minutes ago, I'm going to show you again a little bit about myself. My name is Melissa, and I am a vice principal at Pleasant Hills Middle School, which is a middle school in near Pittsburgh, South Hills of Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania here. This is obviously something that is global. So you hopefully, if you haven't heard of Pittsburgh, you've heard of Pennsylvania. So that's where I'm at. I have been in education for over 10 years. I have a bachelor's in elementary, master's in curriculum, and my doctorate that I got in 2019 in educational leadership. So I have been in education for a long time, but only as a vice principal for the last 2 years. Got right in there before COVID hit, and then 2 years of thrown right in the fire there. So it's been a fun 2 years of leading. So that's a little bit about me. I am married. I have 2 little kids. My son is 9 and my daughter is 7. That's hard to say. I feel like they're getting old there. But so yes, that's a little bit about me. And we will, Miss Jen over here will tell you a little bit about her. Go ahead.
Thanks, Melissa. One of the greatest pleasures in my career and education this is my 29th year, which is crazy to believe. But one of the greatest pleasures that I've had has been watching my former students grow up and be such wonderful people. And one of my former students is Dr. Melissa, and it's so wonderful to be presenting with her. Elizabeth Forward, where I'm a principal, is also south of Pittsburgh. I live in the north of Pittsburgh, and I have 5 lovely children who are all a bit older, from 28 down to 18, and they are in Ohio and New York City and just doing amazing things.
Wonderful. Yes. Yes. So we do know each other. She was actually my middle school reading teacher, come full circle. Now we are colleagues. So it's really, it's a big deal that we are here presenting together with you. You just never know what the future holds for you here, huh?
It's crazy because we look like we're definitely the same age. So I don't know how it happened.
You do. You were young. You were really young when you got into it. All right. So we'll move on here to our presentation. So I put this up there, this quote up here that I really think is important here. The ability for a group of people to do remarkable things hinges on how well those people can pull together as a team. So if you're not familiar with Simon, he has a lot of pretty remarkable and thought-provoking quotes out there. So our presentation today is about leadership and leading through change, and a big component of that is being a team and getting through something together. So I thought this was an important quote to really put some perspective on. They are, when people combine and work together, it's unstoppable, aren't they, Jen? Unstoppable. So
they are. And one skill that we have as women, it really is developing and maintaining relationships. And as we all know, relationships are the backbone of any team. So it's one of the things that really, in particular, makes women fantastic leaders. Just one of the things.
Absolutely. Here. So you can go ahead and jump in, Jen, and then I'll chime in.
Thanks. I know that our audience is broad, and so we wanted to talk first about a little bit about leadership and about change in the context of which we're speaking. You probably are a leader if you're watching this. A leader is anybody who is moving people forward toward where the organization or where that person wants to go. So you probably are a leader. You're probably setting a great example, or you probably have a leadership position already. If you don't have a leadership position, you probably are a leader just by leading with as a wonderful example of how you can believe in others and move them toward an important goal. The way that we're talking about change is that we are realizing that change is no longer an event. It is actually constant. Things are changing so quickly. And in the past 17 to 18 months, we've truly learned that change can happen almost overnight. And it may be change that leads to a completely different way of doing our job and living our lives. So we have to be ready to adjust on the fly with any change. Change leaders, the people who are good at helping people through that change, are some of the most crucial people in any organization. And today we want to talk a little bit about how women in leadership can handle, how we do handle, and how we have handled things beautifully, and some of the challenges we also run up against.
Yeah, and I think also on that point, I when I was in school and I thought to myself, like, I don't know if I'm a leader. I don't know if I'm capable of leading a building. I don't know if I have the skills that are needed for that. I think, as Jen just said, I think a big part is knowing that if you are here, if you're trying to better yourself, if you're trying to be a better professional, a better educator, then you are a leader, because you are leading the way of, empowering yourself and empowering others. And when you do that, like she just said, you're a leader. So I think knowing that we have a broad audience here, I know not everyone in this audience might be a principal or superintendent or director or supervisor. If you're a classroom teacher, you're a leader. Being involved in activities at school, being involved in moving your school forward, being on committees. If you find yourself doing the extra things, signing up for the extra stuff, volunteering for things, you're someone that wants to better your organization, and that makes you a leader right there. So I think that's a really important component, knowing that, I was a teacher for 10 years prior to getting to leadership, because I had that fear of, like, I don't think I'm cut out for it. I'm not a leader. But little did I realize, as Jen just pointed out, I was doing all of those things. I was being a part of things that made me a leader already. So I think that's important to know.
Yeah, also 80% of learning about a job and learning the particulars of a job happens actually on the job. We use about 20% of the skills that we already have. So if you're worried about not knowing enough or not having enough experience, on the job is truly where you learn it. So if you've got the passion, if you have the desire, that's all it takes.
Right. So awesome points there. I think that we really wanted to focus on, you being a leader, and the fact that change is constant, whether we like it or not. This past year has showed us that we just have to be prepared for everything. All right. So how do we lead? How do we lead during change?
Well, one of the things that we do is to create strong and meaningful relationships. I talked a little bit before about how relationships are at the core of every team. And unless you have those relationships, when crisis comes or when change needs to happen, it will be very difficult. So we, as women in leadership positions, start by creating strong and meaningful relationships within our teams and organizations. We also arm ourselves with facts and information. It's very important as leaders that everyone uses facts and that we stay away from feelings and opinions. It's okay for us to have them, but when things are supported by facts, they are so much easier to defend, and that's truly what speaks to people. We need to act based on information, and a thing that has been said a lot within the past couple months has been we need to work with the science. So that's what we do in leadership too, is work with the leadership science. We need to use our instincts along with information to determine what others need to fulfill the vision for our schools or organization and for the needs of our stakeholders. We know what needs to happen, and usually people have a certain instinct as leaders that will help people get them there. So we need to pay attention to those instincts while we use empathy, compassion, and logic to communicate those facts with the others. No matter what we're doing, we are modeling the change for others. And when we put all of those things together, a change actually becomes reality.
Yeah, I think I also want to add here too that C word that you mentioned. Well, actually, you mentioned two really good ones, compassion too. But I think communication, that is so key to an important, a important component of being a team and working together and forming those relationships. You have to communicate with your team, especially during times of change and being good leaders. So I think, making sure that you have those open lines of communication with people, so that they feel included, they feel involved, they know what's happening, and they know why, and they know what's coming next, and they know they trust you. So I think that's really important.
Melissa, I've read that the majority of conflict in organizations goes back to a lack of communication or a hang up with communication. So it's vital that we are able to effectively communicate what a change needs to be or what we're doing so that we can bring others along with us.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, think about your own relationships with your friends, your family, your significant other, your kids. Like, communication is key. Like, yeah, I absolutely believe that. Some good data there, Jen, because I think that, we know that it's a lack of communication that happens a lot, especially during COVID. I feel like a lot of people brought up issues with parents and teachers saying like, well, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't feel informed. People, when they feel informed, they trust. And then that leads to that R word you set up there, relationships, meaningful relationships. Absolutely. So I think you brought up some really good points of how do we lead during change. And I think it's important here that we mention that, these things, as we are women leaders, these are things that need to be done regardless if you're male or female, which kind of, we'll pick up on later on about, male and female leaders. You have anything else you want to add on this slide before I change it?
I think we are good.
Wonderful. All right. So we're talking here a little bit about being a female leader in 2021. It's been a year. So let's start with the struggles. I think a big thing is, balancing career goals. What do you want to do? What are your roles? What are your responsibilities at work versus your home responsibilities? Now, I know we have a variety of people on here, and your home life looks different. Your model of who you live with and your relationship, and who lives in your house and your dependents or not dependents or animals, not animals. I think that looks different. But I think the main focus here is, speaking for myself, trying to juggle what I want to do for the trajectory of my career and where I wanted to go versus being a mother and a wife and trying to figure out how to take care of the house. And, and that kind of goes into juggling roles here. For me, I had the guilt of, and hopefully, some of you listening out there can relate to this. I had the guilt of wanting to go after my career goals and, continue to climb that ladder, which meant more time away from my children, which meant more time away from my house, which meant more responsibility on my plate and less time for them and less room for them and less, and that was a big issue for me that I had to work through and really struggled with trying to, what do I do? Do I go after being a leader, or do I, stay with my other roles and really give them the attention they need? So I think, any relationship you have, whoever that was with, significant otherwise, and I think you need to focus on that and think about, where are you going? We want to prove that we're capable of all of it. I want to prove that I'm a good leader and a good mom and a good wife and a good daughter and a good sister and a good friend. And I want to be everything to everybody. And I'm just going to take a minute to let that sink in, because Jen, do you feel that way, that you want to be everything to everybody?
We get so much inside of our heads thinking that we won't be able to do things, that we won't be able to be an effective mom and an effective leader and an effective spouse, when the truth is, really, I can't think of many men who go into a position thinking, well, I hope I can balance home and family. It just happens. And to be honest with you, with women, it just happens too. We make it work. Is it a bit more difficult? At times it is. Logistically, there are some things that have to be managed, but truly, you're able to do it. And most people work all year long. Sometimes people hesitate becoming an administrator because they're afraid of giving up their summers. But, we can answer more questions. I'm happy to address how we do that if we provide our email addresses later. But I mean, summers are great when we're not in session, and it's totally possible to do it. The last point that's brought up is the imposter syndrome, and that is that we think we're not good enough. We think that we don't have the skills and that we can't balance it all. And we worry that somebody will find out we don't have what it takes. Really, we have what it takes. And people have passion and leadership, but they often will just shove it down and not pursue it because they're afraid that they will not be good enough. But that's something that we as women need to get over. We need to get in the boat. We belong at the table. And if you feel like you don't belong, I'm telling you, you do.
And that honestly really just segues right into some data that I have up on the screen here. So you kind of brought up a great point, feeling the imposter syndrome, approximately 75% of the teachers, the educators in the United States are females in K to 12. Principal wise, it's about 50%. And then when you go into the upper, central administration of superintendents, it's about 25% alone in Pennsylvania. So, just kind of looking at those numbers a little bit, that's some of my own research I did for my dissertation, but I think it's very valid because it looks at, how many women are involved, but then as the ladder climbs, just like you just said, they feel they're incapable. They feel like they don't belong at the table. They doubt themselves. So up right now on the board is just a little bit about actually the effectiveness of female leaders versus male leaders. Who when being asked during this study, they were asked about how when they were led by a female team versus a male team, they talked about on the right side here the competencies that it takes, and as you can see on the right there, I mean, the women outshine the men for many of the competencies when it comes to collaboration and teamwork, taking initiative, stretch goals, developing perspective. Like, these are things that, the women showcased higher level of competencies than men. And I don't know if there's anything you want to add to this study here.
Certainly, it's not a competition between women and men. Everybody brings strengths to the table. And at no point when we're discussing women in leadership do we mean to discount the fact that men are also incredible leaders. We're all different. The conversation at the moment is how we have fewer women and how there are fewer women going into administration and into leadership roles. So we need to empower one another and support others' decisions and encourage people to get the degree or to move forward or to become a leader in your organization, however you can, so that we continue to have these awesome qualities in leading teams. The world really needs these qualities. Like Melissa said, with the leadership or with the research that she did recently, these statistics show that these are the skills that got us through the crisis of the past 18 months. And it's what gets us through the crisis on a daily basis and our jobs as well.
Right. I'm glad you said that, because I think, and speaking for obviously Women Ed here, I'm a network leader for Women Ed, in case that was not already established. But, I think sometimes the situation gets misconstrued that, it's not male versus female. Absolutely not. It's more really just making sure that the women feel empowered to not doubt themselves, to feel confident, to go after what they want. So it's really just showing you, like, you are capable, because women don't feel like they are. They think that, the men have more to bring to the table than they do, and they don't have the leadership skills. And I think that's a lot of, like, society and the past that has put those ideas in their head. So really, our goal here is talking about how women are effective, that we want to just show you the data that actually proves that that they are. So this is from actually a Harvard study that was done. That these are up right now, but I think that that's important that we talk about that, the skills that women have that make good leaders, which is kind of what we're segueing into here. So I think
if you've thought about becoming a leader, if it's even in your heart, if you've even considered it, you need to do it. How and where to start depends on where you are. It depends often on your district, depends on your organization, and you know the details best, but find support, and we are here to support you. I'm always happy to speak to people going into leadership roles or people who need encouragement who already are in leadership roles. There are so many coaches and mentors who are available, and we're really happy to do that for one another. But if you've even thought about it, that makes you a leader. That means that you have a passion for it. So get in there and go for it.
That's awesome. I know you have offered that support for me. When I question myself about being in a leadership role, you have absolutely been supportive of that. And I needed that. So knowing that you have each other to lean on, that you have other females out there, and that's what Women Ed is all about. Again, this is a global network. That's what it's about, is just, again, making sure women feel empowered. And this is one of my favorite images, because I just love that she's breaking the glass ceiling there. I don't know if you can tell that's what that is there, but I just love that image. I think here I really just wanted to focus on the skills that are needed for leadership. And as you saw a few slides back, that women do have these skills. A lot of, and anything in education right now, they're talking about, and again in business too, empathy, compassion. They have found that those are traits that females generally have naturally, and that's really what being a good leader needs. Like, you need someone that cares about people, who can empathize with people, and those relationships, like Jen said earlier. I found this quote in the Forbes article that said that women are known to pivot with positivity and proactivity, and I just thought that was kind of it spoke a lot to me about being positive, and flipping whenever we need to, and being able to adjust to things. And I think especially during the last year of change, like you just said, how constant it's been, that's definitely a leadership quality that we need. We talk about emotional intelligence, and being aware of others and their feelings, and even during challenging times, that we have a pulse on what's going on in our organization, and what people need, and how to support them. And I think I know Jen wants to talk about this too. Making sure that you are yourself. When you got into leadership, Jen, was there like a certain stigma about how females should be or shouldn't be?
I was young when I started in my role as assistant principal. I was 29, and my district had been run primarily by much older gentlemen. So, of course, there were things said when I started that position about how I got there, and it's discouraging, and it's hurtful at times. But there are perceptions about women in leadership that are just not true, and sometimes we believe them ourselves. And some people believe that to have power, you actually have to be a bitch, excuse the non-French, but it's completely not true. You just have to be yourself. So being yourself means letting the inherent gifts that you have truly shine through. If you are a people person, if you are passionate about relationships and helping others, that's what gets you through. Everybody has great qualities. And as women, we have some qualities that truly need to be brought to the table, and they help our organizations grow. And just being with children is a gift for many women, and it's something that we can bring into our roles. One thing that I find with education is the further away you get from children, the higher the position is. So we need to be able to stay in touch with kids and remember our true passion and our calling for them, so that we can truly keep them at the heart of every decision we make.
Good. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that is a stigma of, women in leadership and how they should be or need to be to get where they want to go. And I think you brought up a great point about like being who you are and using your strengths and your gifts. And you mentioned earlier too about men and women at the table, and everybody brings something to the table. If there's anything we've learned about teamwork in the last couple of years, with the amount of research that's been done and successful teams and successful work organizations, people bring up Google a lot, and how well they work together. You're being creative and being passionate and highlighting your strengths, but working together and you need people at the table that see things differently. If everybody in the room sees it the same way, then that's not going to help you be successful as an organization. And especially in education, we know we're working with people, working with kids. They're humans, they're different, and we need to be able to adapt. Our decisions need to be based on what the kids need, and knowing that we all have different perspectives and kind of what we bring to the table as far as our situations and where we've come from, and our life experiences and our situations have helped mold us to see from that perspective. So I think that's important that you brought that up. You need to be who you are and not change that to go where you want to go. You just have to find the right fit. I think that's important that you mentioned that.
Going back to my reading teacher days, I love to speak in metaphors to help people, metaphors and word stories to help people find meaning and to help connect them with what I'm thinking, or to help connect them with where we're going. And if I can only use metaphors for the things I know about. Some of those things are not sports and hunting. So we have people around our table who make those metaphors that make a lot more sense to others, because they can speak to sports metaphors and hunting metaphors. And thank goodness that they're able to do that, because it really resonates with people. So for reasons like that and many others, we need everybody's voice with your varied experience that only you have.
Yeah, I love that. I love saying that. And you bringing your own skills to the table is so important. Being your authentic self. Anything that you know about leadership, these are the things they talk about. This is what the research says. This is what makes a great leader. Almost any dissertation out there you read about leadership, it's people want to be cared about, people want to be heard, people want to feel included. That matters. Trust. I think that those are all important things too. And finishing here, Miss Jen, do you know who this lady on the screen is?
Well, actually, this is the beautiful and wonderful Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who has so many incredibly inspiring quotes about leadership and belonging at the table, and how we belong at the table so much. And she said that she would be happy with the Supreme Court when there are 9 women running it. And, I would love to see a school district sometime where it was run by all women, because people wouldn't blink if it was a district run by all men. And I think it would be great. I personally have never worked for a superintendent who is a woman, and I would love to do that at some point, because we just have different leadership styles, and I think it would be so interesting. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg says that women belong in all places where decisions are being made. That is so true. Our voice always belongs at the table, and too often we swallow our voice and we're reluctant to share it. But we need to encourage each other to truly be authentic, to share our voices and our experience, because so often we are right about things, but we don't want to say that. We don't want to speak for fear of being judged, or being pushy, or being bitchy, or not being taken seriously, no matter how old we are. So she kind of wraps it up. We love wraps it up with the gavel, get it? And we just love her, and Ruth is the woman, and we miss her.
Yeah, that is, she does have some great quotes. She was definitely a strong female leader. She's an advocate for women. Talk about leadership, like the actual decisions that she was involved in. She was at the table, like the big table. I think that's a big table there. I think really knowing that not only are you capable, I don't know if you've ever read anywhere, Jen, that they talk about how when applying for jobs, women, feel that if there's one thing on the list that they don't have experience with, they won't apply. and
Yes.
men are like 100%. They might not even be close, and they still apply. So I think, on the ending note here, we just want you to feel good about who you are, feel confident in your abilities and your strengths, and know that you belong at the table, and you are absolutely a leader, and your job is to get to the table, make decisions, being involved, and then support others who want to go there, and support the women around you, whether you disagree, whether they have different personalities. Like it is absolutely important that women feel valued, heard, appreciated, and supported, and that's our job, to empower each other. So I really just kind of want to end on that note for myself. Hopefully you got something from this. Our Twitter is on there, email, please reach out. Don't hesitate. I'd be more than happy to help support any woman that's out there. And Jen, do you have any final words?
Yeah, I just want to also offer my encouragement, and I want to say you've got the brain, you've got the heart, and you've got the spirit. So if you would like to get into administration, get it. Go into it, do it. And if you are already in administration, support other women, support your teachers who have the gifts, who are afraid to go into it, and just support each other as individuals. And it'll make everything better. It'll make the world a better place. It will make everything better. It'll definitely make our world a better place.
It absolutely will. It absolutely will. So thank you. We're signing off, and from two women who are passionate about leadership and supporting others. We're here. If you need anything, go get it. Do it.
Ready to pull you up. Go, girls.
All right. I just stop our presentation now. I feel like we could talk for hours.
I know. So good. I love it. That was great.